Greetings, everyone. What a beautiful day. And I'm so honored to have the Mystics with me. George Galfo has been the driving force of the Mystics for over 22 years. And he has been the original and founding member. He also was inducted into the Doo-Wop Music Hall of Fame in 2015. Welcome, George, and welcome all the Mystics. How are you today?
Fine. And Jay, it's a pleasure to be here with you again.
Good morning. Good afternoon, where we are.
And we are the Mystics. And today's Mystics, I have Ralph Rati.
Hi, Ralph.
How you doing?
Tony Lauro.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jake.
Jerry Frulio.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Anthony DeFontes.
Hi, Anthony.
Hello.
Okay. And so do we have a sunny day now in Florida?
At the
Beautiful.
moment, yes.
Every day.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
No
It
rain.
is. Well, all right. I want to start with George and ask you, what compelled you to sing?
Well, when I was about 17, it started in 1957, I hung out with my brother, who's older than I am, with his friends. They were all about 3 years older than me. They started to sing and I joined in with them. And we started to like it, what it sounded like. We had fun doing it. And, you know, it was just something that just came along naturally for us. And, you know, and they called themselves the Guardsmen at the time, because they were all in the Air Force National Guard, and I was too young to be there. So I joined them. And I just started singing with them and had great fun, great times, and we liked it. So that's what got me started.
Well, how did the early stages of harmony like barbershop, pop, and gospel contribute to the development of the doo-wop music?
Well, a great deal of it did contribute. The harmony sounds that were formed from different styles of the music that created, you know, their sound. That's what created actually rock and roll, doo-wop as it is known today. It had a lot to do with the way we started, because we used to listen to them on the radio, all different styles, and it was amazing what they can do with their voices.
Well, your life was fused with peer pressure, organized crime, turf wars, national tragedies, and street corner harmonizing, and the race to national prominence at a very young age. So how do the Mystics achieve success without losing their souls?
Well, there was a lot of competition and many singing groups in the neighborhood. Once we got busy and started singing and rehearsing, actually, it kept us out of trouble. We stayed away from the other elements you mentioned and tried not to get involved. They're laughing, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
It did keep us away from that, and we enjoyed being together, harmonizing and singing. Unfortunately, one individual didn't heed that kind of a situation, hung out with bad apples, and paid dearly for it. And the Mystic did at a time too.
You mentioned the groups. Now, we're not just talking about 2 or 3 groups. Wasn't it well over 600 groups trying to compete for national prominence at the time?
There was probably more than that between New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York, Pennsylvania. There was a lot of great groups. It's all timing, actually, and meet the right people at the right time. We were very fortunate and lucky. So that's how we got where we were today.
Hushabye blessed you with a signature song that made the Mystics citizens of the world. How has your 1959 #1 mega international and national seller hit Hushabye transformed your life?
Yeah, it did. It actually did transform our lives in a different path. At the time, we all ventured into the work world prior to getting the hit record with Laurie Records. And I was starting out with IBM machines and worked for American Express. And everybody else had their own field that they were into. And once our recording came out and started to be successful, we were asked, or actually told, that we had to leave our jobs and continue with the entertainment field. And it was a very, sudden thing for us and shocking at the time. We had to leave the jobs and go on tour, and it did change our lives.
Okay, thank you, George. We'll come back to you a little bit later.
Okay.
Anthony, you have had a really impressive career, from a certified computer and network technician to a top hairstylist and top hair colors for over 40 years. So how did you obtain your education in doo-wop music?
Well, doo-wop started with me when I was about 6 years old, actually. Listening to people singing on the street corner. I had a neighbor that used to sing in his basement every night. He had a group and they used to rehearse. And that's what first caught my ear. And my grandfather brought me an accordion from Italy when I was 6 years old. And that started me off as a musician. After that, I taught myself saxophone, harmonica, bass guitar. I was pretty much fully immersed in music when I was young.
So actually, you really know how to play several instruments then.
Well, I'm jack of all trades, master of none. Let me put it that way.
What are your fond memories of performing at Radio City Hall in Madison Square Garden?
Oh, that was very thrilling for me, having grown up in that area and been to Radio Music Hall so many times, and then to find myself on the stage with someone who was my favorite recording artist. That whole thing was like I was sleeping. I needed to be pinched to wake up. But I had a great time, and it was really an honor to do.
Which one did you prefer, at Radio City Hall or Madison Square Garden? What was your favorite performance?
I have to say Radio City Music Hall, because that was, well, actually, let me change that. Madison Square Garden, because I was overwhelmed by the amount of people when I walked out on that stage. It was something like 27,000 people. That really blew me away, as they say.
So
I've never performed in front of that many people before, but it was great.
So did you experience any stage fright at that time?
No, that was never an issue for me, thank God. I just always was used to that, no problems.
So what skills are needed to succeed in singing besides a great voice and a distinct style?
Personality, camaraderie with the other performers. And if I had to pick something directly related to being able to sing well, it would have to be to memorize the lyrics before you sing a song. Don't rely on a sheet music or anything else to read it. You need to memorize what you're going to do, and that's the only way you're going to sing it like it was a natural thing for you to do.
So how long would it usually take you to memorize the lyrics?
I would say rehearsing it about 4 or 5 times in private usually does it for me.
Okay, well, thank you, Anthony. We'll be back with you a little bit later.
Thank
Jerry,
you.
how has being a Navy veteran, almost 40 years in law enforcement, retiring at the rank of sergeant, impacted your life today?
Well, let me say it this way. Serving in a nation was a great honor for me, and also law enforcement. It provided me with a family. I'm talking about a nationwide family, because thank God for social media, a lot of us can still communicate. So it's been very positive. The only negative, of course, is when we lose one of our vets or law enforcement personnel. That really affects us. But other than that, in fact, we do a lot of shows, and in all the audiences, we have vets, and we also have first responders and law enforcement personnel that we attribute, and we dedicate a lot the show to. So that's what makes it worth it.
Well, I know the veterans really appreciate the shows that the Mystics do perform. Okay, where did your singing career begin?
Well, like Anthony, but I didn't start at 6, but when I moved to Rosedale in 1957 from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, there were a lot of the groups like George had referred to and singing on a cappella on the street corners and everything. My first experience in singing was in Andrew Jackson High School boys' room, where I was taught second tenor by my good friend and who became a reflection, Joe Orlando. And then we used the Long Island Railroad train station because in the winter it was heated and it provided a great echo. So we would meet there and form and sing our the a cappella songs of all the oldies, 50s, 60s, early 60s.
So
I
you-
actually started singing in 1961, so a little later than George. But
So what recordings did you release in 1962?
it was 4 sides, 2 records under the Crossroads label, and Rocket to the Moon, I Really Must Know, Maybe Tomorrow. Those are all originals, and the standard Because of You. I Really Must Know made the charts initially. We got to do some shows with Bruce Morrow, and after about a year and a half, we disbanded because of the service or whatever. And I joined a group called the Jesters. I was also a drummer, and I sang from the drums. So
You still play the drums now?
I don't now because I've been singing as either a leader or a tenor in the groups, but I can still play, but and a little bit of keyboards, not much, but a little bit.
Okay. What was your secret to maintaining a wonderful relationship as a member of the Saints for 27 years and 7 years with the Crest?
Okay, the Saints were a very popular group in Long Island during the 70s. And they recorded. They had Wishful Thinking, ABCs of Love. They even did the a theme song for a disc jockey out there, Don K. Reed. Kenny Galliano, who was the bass singer in that group, moved to Florida in 1988, and we reformed the Saints in Florida. Probably about 1994, Tommy Mara joined us as one of the Saints. And then Tony here, 2 years later? 95, Tony joined us. And we've been singing and doing venues throughout Florida here since then into the 2000s. I left the group to join join the Reflections because of PBS and all the groups starting to reform and be able to perform on the circuit. So basically, that's what happened with me.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Now, Tony, it's your turn. Other Navy veteran, how has serving in the Navy impacted your life?
I would say dramatically. We were all kids and hanging out in the streets years ago. And when you get out of high school, we were, I guess the term was wise guys. We didn't care about much. And when I went into the Navy, I learned discipline real quick. I learned one thing that helped me in my career, because I later went to IBM and worked there for 30 years, was that you got to learn how to take an order before you could give one.
Good advice.
And I spent 2 years in the Navy, and I came out a different guy. And when I joined IBM in 1968, I guess it was, I started out as a kid with a high school diploma and worked my way up almost to executive level. It was a company that paid you and promoted you on merit. And I learned that quickly also from the Navy. Work hard and you'll get ahead, and don't give up. And from then on, when I came down to Florida in '93. I met Jerry and the guys, and that's what it did. The whole Navy actually changed my whole demeanor of how I think and how I react to everything. So,
Well, that's really interesting. Okay, what was your secret to maintaining a wonderful relationship as a member of the Crest for 20 years?
I don't think it's a secret. The guys that knew us, we had camaraderie. We had crazy guys. And when we got together, they heard us before they saw us. We were in the dressing room.
That's
We
for
were
sure.
loud. We ate a lot. We socialized. It was actually going to a gig it wasn't about the money. It was just the fun of getting together. Because if you know, at the time, it was Jerry, me, Kenny, and Joe. And sadly, I don't know, Jerry didn't mention it, but in 2020, 2021, we
March.
lost 4 guys. They died within 6 months of each other.
Oh,
I got the
So,
picture right back here.
yeah, that was a painting. That was a painting done of us from a photo.
well,
And
that's
it was,
beautiful. Let's see it. Can you hold it closer? Okay, could you want to name the people in it from left to
Yes.
right?
that's Joe Pizzo, that was me, Tommy, Jerry, and Kenny. And we were together 20 years, actually. When Tommy put it together, it was because of Johnny Maestro, who was a neighbor and a very close friend of his. And we were performing as the Saints at the time, Tommy Mara Saints. And Johnny said to Tommy, why don't you do something with the crest? Because nobody's doing anything. And sure enough, JT Carter, the original base of the crest, flew down to Florida. And we wound up in Tommy's house. The Saints and JT started singing. And JT said to Tommy, let's go for it. So it was created JT Carter's crest, featuring the voice of Tommy Mara. And that lasted about 2 years. And then JT left for some reason. Don't remember. We did a show in Savannah. We went back to the bus. JT wasn't there. We never saw him again. So Tommy bought the name legitimately, and we continued on. And Tommy brought us to levels that we never thought we'd achieve. We played some very big venues. We did cruises.
Nationwide.
Yeah, we went nationwide, actually. So, and it was an experience I'll never forget, of course. And then we knew George from, back to the 90s sometime, I guess,
Did
George,
shows with
right? We did shows with the Mystics, actually. And after the group, COVID is what hurt the most, probably, all the groups. We
Yes.
just went idle. We didn't do anything for years. And what happened was the group, with Tommy's passing, his family wanted to retire the name, which they did. And then, thanks to George, he gave us a call one day and says, hey, you guys want to sing with me? Are you kidding? Of course. We wouldn't pass that up. We're not working with an A group like the Mystics. And that's where we are today. So, and we're getting that camaraderie too, I think. These guys are great to be with. We have a lot of fun when we're together. So it continues. It's something, it's part of our life.
Okay, Tony, what gives your life meaning?
Probably family, friends. I've had some tragedies myself the last 5 years. I lost a son-in-law. I lost a group, and it was tough. And I learned how to deal with it, though. I mean, life goes on.
So how did you personally deal with your personal tragedies? How did you cope?
Well, I accepted them, that they were in a better place. Matter of fact, there was a little joke about it at one of the wakes. The wife of one of the crests, Connie, one of the original guys, says, hey, they're starting a group, when you going to join them? I said, don't even talk about that. I'm not ready for that. So, but it was just something that I had to deal with, because I look around, look at the original guys that started many of these groups are no longer with us. So we've lost a lot of people, and not only our industry, but in our personal lives. And you deal with it. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'm not a religious guy, but I do talk to the man upstairs and ask for help every so often. So that helps a lot.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
Right.
Tony, and we'll be back with you a little bit later. Ralph, wow, what can I say? Your range as lead vocal for Goodbye, Mr. Blues was amazing.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Why is singing a cappella so challenging?
Well, you would have to have a background in street corner singing, like all the fellas referred to. A cappella singing is basically what we call in the business a triad, a baritone, a second tenor, and a top tenor, along with the lead singer, and if we have the luxury, a bass singer. So when we learn how to sing it started for me at like 12 years old on a street corner. So we learned how to sing, and I quickly discovered that I had the gift to sing. And we developed what we call our ears and our street knowledge. Long before I was able to play instruments or anything like that, we listened and we developed our ears to know which part of harmony was which and where the chords changed. And as time goes on, you develop that in your brain, actually. You kind of train it to learn how to sing these harmonies. You have to have the natural gift from the Lord. But once you have that, singing street corner harmony can be a pure joy.
Well, your vocal range and style are legendary. So who were your greatest idols?
Well, my greatest idols, they change as you age, but at an early age, it was groups like the Mystics, the Brooklyn groups, the Mystics, the Passions, the Classics, all the guys that I grew up listening to. And as Anthony mentioned, Dion, obviously. Those were the groups that we listened to, and those were the groups that developed our sound. And I must tell you, at a later age, to be able to get to sing with many of these groups was a joy for me. And it's an experience that I feel blessed to have had.
Well, you sang with the Mystics a while, maybe 2015, 2016 too?
Yes, I've been in the Mystics since 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it like to own your own recording studio and produce records?
Well, again, it's all about the experience of having recorded. I learned at an earlier age, having recorded with some of these groups like the Tokens, for instance. I recorded with them on the 25th anniversary album. I was able to learn about the board, how to do multi-track, how to sing all the parts of harmonies and be able to embellish the sound. To me, that's not only a science, but it's also an art. And it's something that I'm happy to do. As a matter of fact, George, when was it? About 2015, we did the album with the Mystics?
Yes.
Yeah, it was around 2015. We did it in my studio, and we enjoyed it very much. It was quite an experience. I remember George making those late night trips over to do those things. It was fun.
So what instruments do you play?
I play primarily, I'm a guitarist, and I also primarily play the bass. I played saxophone also.
Wow. What's your favorite instrument?
To be honest, it used to be the guitar, but once I started playing bass, I really think at this point, bass is my favorite instrument.
Okay, well, thank you, Ralph, and we'll be
Thank
back
you.
later. All right, we're going to continue with more questions. So does anyone want to take a little break, sip of water?
Get your water.
That was
Good.
fine.
Good.
We're good. We're good.
Right.
Take
Okay.
a sip of water.
All right, go ahead. I'm going to do this.
Oh, sip time? You can take a sip now? Oh, we shouldn't be sipping when we're on?
No, it's okay. This is live. You can do whatever feels comfortable with you. Why not? This is what's great.
Just asking. I don't want to ruin the film, you know.
No, you're not going to. Okay.
As long as it's water.
Tony, you already ruined it. Don't worry about it.
The Mystics have created a timeless sound that has drawn international fans and generations of loyal listeners. So what is the future of doo-wop music? And let's start with George on that one.
Sorry?
I'll repeat that again. Okay. The Mystics have created a timeless sound that has drawn international fans and generations of loyal listeners. So what is the future of doo-wop music?
Future of doo-wop music? Well, we hope that it will continue. Everything goes in cycles as usual. Doo-wop is not as popular now as it was in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And we hope that more groups continue doing what they're doing. I know in Europe, they're mimicking us today, what we did in the 50s and 60s. So that's a blessing in disguise itself. And we just hope it continues. We love doing it, and we'll keep doing it as long as the people come and see the shows. And it keeps us going on as long as we can.
The internet has changed the musical landscape dramatically. What advice would you give the next generation of doo-wop artists? Anthony, what would you like to add to that?
It's a tough question.
Oh, okay.
The next generation has to realize that we have so many different genres today. When I was growing up in the 50s, we didn't have so many different forms of music right out there. Today, you've got social media, so you're hearing all different kinds of music in different ways and different manners. At the same time, you still have some of the greats out there, like the Beatles and the Doors, and you still hear their music. So music today is a lot bigger than it used to be. I mean, look, they're playing albums again, they're vinyl albums again. Last year, the first time vinyl albums sold out CDs in 10 years. So I would say today that what the young people have to learn is their music has to convey a message that people are going to want to hear over and over. And that's the only kind of music that's going to survive.
And I'd like to add, at least from my point of view, so the words that you can understand them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Ralph, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, as far as people starting out today in the music business, and if they liked our type of old rock and roll, I would suggest that they take advantage of social media. And by that, I mean, you start a web page, or you start a TikTok page or a Facebook page, and develop a following in social media. And through my recording connections, I can tell you that it is not nearly as hard as it used to be, because you used to have to get signed by one of 4 major labels in order to get a record out there. And today you can do it. You can pretty much do it on the internet if you go through the proper channels and you have your music, copyrighted properly. It can be put onto, like an iTunes or any one of these musical sites and sold. And now that it's a lot harder to get on the charts, but it's a lot easier to release a recording. So I would suggest to somebody starting out in music business today to absolutely take advantage of the amazing technologies that we have available to us today. That would be my advice.
I agree.
I wanted to ask you, you sing many genres. What's your favorite?
Well, obviously, I call myself a doo-wopper, but I love the great American songbook. I love to sing Sinatra, Tony Bennett. I love to sing those types of songs also, and I do that every chance I get.
George, what were your emotions when you were inducted into the Doo-Wop Music Hall of Fame in 2015?
Well, we were very honored that took place. And we felt that we made a great achievement in the field. And finally to be there and recognized with such an honor like that, we still appreciate it today we haven't been inducted like that. Something we won't forget.
Has anyone ever dealt with performance anxiety? And if so, how have you coped with it? And I'm going to ask Tony and Jerry about that one.
I'm not sure if it's anxiety or adrenaline. Maybe they're the same. You know that when you're standing in the wings and your music starts and you're going to go out, we get a shot of adrenaline. And you get to your mic and you say, okay, let's sound good. And when that first note comes out and it comes out right, we're in for a good either 20-minute show or an hour and a half of a lot of fun with the audience. And when you say anxiety, I see a lot of the anxiety from the audience, actually. They're excited to see groups performing their music.
Right.
And it's interesting that we did 16 Candle once at a closing.
Mm-hmm.
We started the song and the audience sang the whole song.
Yeah.
We just stepped back. and they sang the whole song to the end. And I looked at Tommy and Jerry and I went, this has never happened before. Obviously, they know the song, but you'll see that in faces of people, say a love song, a couple will hold hands. And that to me is why I perform, I think. The excitement of getting on stage, sounding good with your brothers on stage, and producing a sound that people appreciate. And they show that many times in our shows by the applause and standing ovations, which just warms your heart. It's a wonderful feeling. So that's why I'm not sure if anxiety or it's we all have a little anxiety. It's adrenaline though. You get a real shot when you come out. So
Jerry,
Yeah.
have you dealt with anxiety?
Not like Tony says, I think it is more of adrenaline, but then there's always a time when you say, wow, I got to do that song. Hope I remember that, like Anthony said, you go over the songs, Sometimes you even say before the show, do I know the last verse?
Yeah.
How it starts
Yeah.
to go through your head, but when you're out there and you sing it, it comes out. So that's basically how we feel. I
Well,
feel
this
about it.
next question, has anybody ever been on stage and actually forgot some of the words?
Yes.
of course.
Okay.
Just make up new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, or pretend that it wasn't a mistake at all.
Tommy was famous for that.
Yeah, Tommy was.
Tommy was famous for that. He'd sing the wrong words to a lot of the songs, but it fit for some reason and it went over. So
Well,
nobody
well,
knew the difference.
Well, as many of the groups do. You were addressing the thing about anxiety.
Yeah.
What the Mystics do, I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm sure George won't mind. What the Mystics generally do before we walk out on stage, and we're on the side of the stage and we're all feeling like a little anxious and stuff. I wouldn't call it, stage fright or anything like that. It's just like Tony said, adrenaline. What we generally do is we generally huddle together and we say, let's go, let's have a nice, and we hold hands or something like that for a second. And then we run out on stage, and that gets rid of everything because we believe in each other. And that was a little secret I told you.
I think that,
Amen.
oh, sorry.
Amen.
Okay. What happened?
Actually, you never get over it. You always have the butterflies in your stomach. And anybody says they don't have it, I don't believe it.
True.
Until you get out and say a few words in the mic, and then it ends right there.
That's it.
Someone takes over, and we do what we have to do best, and we enjoy that. So, especially looking at the audience, and like Tony and Jerry said, the people singing with us on these songs, they remember it. We bring back memories that they had forgotten, and every song has a certain memory to it. So we enjoy that the most.
And I think, George, you mentioned before on another show with me, is that when you're performing in Europe, the people know the words.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they speak broken English, or some don't even speak English, but they can sing English properly for the whole song. It's amazing how they do that.
No, the last time we were there, I'll be honest with you, NJ, we were shocked.
Yes.
Totally shocked. They knew the words to most of the songs. They sang with us. Yeah.
They brought us back in time. They dressed in the 40s and 50s. The hairdos, the dresses.
It was amazing.
I don't know where they get that era of wardrobes, but they're all dressed in that era. The cars they drive, same thing, all in the olden cars, and they keep everything spotless. And it was a culture shock to us, and
Absolutely.
they made us feel real good.
What is the landscape like when an artist is struggling to make it? And we'll go with Anthony on that one.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. What is the landscape like when an artist is struggling to make it?
When you're struggling to make it, you always feel on edge. You want to do right. You don't want to make any mistakes, and you want your fellow musicians to like you. Because if they don't like you, it doesn't matter how good you are on the outside. But if you want to talk about landscape as far as the music that's happening today, it's tough because a lot of the songs that are being done by the younger generation, just don't work for older generation singers. We have to somewhat stay with our genres, because none of the young people want to see an older man jumping around on stage doing their music.
Okay, if you could change anything in the music industry today, what would that be, George?
If we could,
If you could change anything in the music industry today, what would that be?
well, it'll be the same thing that we enjoy singing, same type of music, clean stuff that you can understand, that can relate to a lot of different people. Not the younger ones, naturally, they come up with a lot of different stuff today, different styles. That today it's a lot different. They get rich overnight thanks to the media, social media, and TV. Once they get on these big shows and become the top opponent that wins, they become overnight big stars. We didn't have that then. We had Dick Clark that actually helped when we went on his shows and stuff like that. But today is totally different than it was then.
Excuse me, what was your biggest audience that you've ever performed for?
Well, we sang, actually, there was a lot of big audience, but one that I can remember, it was in Providence, Rhode Island, was the Clay Cole show. They built the stage out in the street, and they expected maybe 10,000 people, but they were quite they were quite wrong on that one, because it ended up having about 50,000 people show up. There was nothing but people for miles and miles in every direction, every street, and it got to be so much and pushing and everything else that the stage they made was swaying.
Oh dear.
So it became quite dangerous. We had to go down and get off the stage and go up inside the building and continue the rest on TV. But that was about the biggest audience that we sang in front of. But doing the Fox Theater for 10 days, full shows twice a day, there was quite a lot of people. So, you know, we get used to it. And today, the bigger the audience, the better it is for us. We like it better.
Jerry and Tony, how do you protect your vocal cords?
Well, I stopped smoking. That was one.
Good.
And I paid the price with my COPD, but smoking hurt me. I try not to yell, although I'm loud. All Italians are loud. I try to lead a much healthier life than I used to, probably. But once some damage gets done, it's hard to fix. Yeah. But yeah, at our age, as we get older, your voice does change to some extent. So you try to take care of it much better than you did before. Like I'll do a lozenge every now and then, or eat something that's not going to irritate my throat or vocal cords or give you acid reflux, etc. So it's something you got to look out for as you get older, especially as an ex-smoker, I would know. So,
Jerry?
Well, up in about 2 years ago, I was with a voice teacher for about 7 years, learning the exercises to do. I never smoked, thank God, and then didn't really affect it. So basically that's it. And it's just have always play the songs that you're singing and repetitive and sing with it, and that's what you're doing. And I believe Ralph we brought out and Ralph actually started having us do exercises, and I related to those exercises because it was exactly what my voice teacher taught me. But that's basically how I, keep my voice up to par, so to speak. But that's basically it.
Ralph, what
Yes.
what is your technique for protecting your vocal cords?
Well, honestly, the best way to keep your vocal cords, in my opinion, sharp, is to use them as much as possible. I sing almost every day. And as Jerry mentioned very recently, actually not so recently, we started it again recently. Backstage, we'll go through some vocal exercises that I do in order to increase vocal range and pitch. They're basically chromatic and diatonic scales. But as we reach a higher plateau, I'll tell the baritone to drop out. And the next plateau, I'll tell the second tenor to drop out. And the next plateau, the first tenor and the lead singer will drop out. And that's how we open our throats. And that's how we protect our vocal cords. But in truth, the best way to do it is to sing every day. Sing as much as you can.
I have a question for you. Did you ever sing opera or study opera?
No, I never studied a classical, but during my education, I was formally trained on how to sing, like the Broadway type show stuff and stuff like that. And I still do it. Yes.
Okay, where do you find your energy and inspiration to perform? And we'll start with George again.
Where do we find inspiration?
Yeah, where do you find your energy and inspiration to perform?
Well, the energy comes from just the excitement of getting prepared to do that and go on stage. Sometimes we feel real down and out and tired with the traveling and everything else. But as soon as we get in front of that microphone, the energy just hits us. And sometimes I've seen performers that couldn't even talk. They had laryngitis, yet go on stage and sing and nobody would know the difference. It's amazing what happens when the adrenaline kicks in and you get started.
Anthony, where do you find your energy and inspiration to perform?
My energy?
Yeah, where do you find your energy and inspiration to perform?
Well, for a long time, I sang gospel music. And my inspiration when I was singing gospel music was amazing. And I just wish I could get the same thing with my doo-wop music that I sing. That being said, I do get very excited over my doo-wop music, all because of the 5-part harmony. To me, that is the best part of the music, is hearing the harmony. And when it's done right, it makes the hair on my neck stand up, sort of. Just
sorry.
being able to do complex harmonies is inspiration to me.
I was impressed with your rendition of Karamia as a lead. Okay, excuse me. What venues would you like to perform in that you haven't been performing in? And we'll go over George.
Well, we'd like to perform everywhere and anywhere. It doesn't matter to us.
Still trying to get you to perform before the Pope. It's a challenge.
Well, in front of something like that, yes, it would be a blessing in disguise. It all depends on the opportunities you get in the field and who you meet and who you know to make those things happen. But it's to sing in the White House would be a blessing. To sing in front of a baseball field and do the national anthem would be a great thing. So there's a lot of different things.
I know one of the venues that would be great would be just sing in the Macy's Day Parade. Macy's Day Parade.
Sure.
Yeah, we're still working on that. It takes time. I know it does take time. Who you know? Okay, excuse me. Before we leave, I would like to go around again and ask, what message would you like to share with your avid fans before we leave? What would that be, George?
Well, I would hopefully that they keep on listening to our music, keep it alive, keep coming to our shows as much as possible, make requests, contact us on Facebook, and stay with us in time so we could be in their minds and their lives and still be maintained with the music we do and keep bringing it to them. That would be a great achievement for us to have that, and hopefully they continue it.
Anthony.
Yes.
Yes, what message would you like to share with your avid fans?
I would like to thank them for all the support they've given us, because if it wasn't for them, doo-wop music would be a lot worse off than it is today. But the people that love the music have gotten older. The people that enjoyed it when they were younger we're losing them every day. Even the artists, we've been losing a lot of the great legendary artists of the genre. So I would like to tell them thank you for supporting us, and play the music for your children. Get them into it too. We do have a large amount of young people that do like the music. I think there's a lot more from where that came from. So support the music is my message.
Okay, how about Tony? What would your message be?
I agree with Anthony. Actually, fans are the most important thing to a group like us. Without them, we wouldn't be here. That's number one. Some people have been so loyal to the groups that I've been in, the Mystics, of course, and the Crest. We used to see the same places, the faces. If we did a cruise, there'd be the same people.
Right.
So the support of our fans is the ultimate thing to a group. Because like I said, without them, we wouldn't be here. I mean, you can't go to a show when the seats are empty, you don't get hired again. But when you've got those dedicated fans, and I think one of the things we all enjoy doing, at least I did it many times with Jerry, we always went back to the lobby, spoke to the fans, took pictures with them. You know, on cruises, we'd be at a bars, and they said, "Can we sing with you?" Of course. And they'd let us sing, and they go, "We sang with the Crest, we sang with the Mystics," and it was just a thrill.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're the most important thing to any group, the fans that come and support you.
And Jerry, what message would you like to share with your fans?
I agree with Tony and Anthony, but to add to that, when you talk about the cruises and getting together and singing a cappella and everything, and he's right, we solidified such friendships, and because of social media with Facebook and whatever, these people are actually part of our family now, and they spread the word to tell everybody to come to see us when we go. And this has been been happening. And like, again, I got to thank PBS for doing what they did years ago to bring everybody and reunite everybody. It was the greatest thing, I think, that ever happened.
Well, and Jay, one other thing, you brought up the future. I think Lubitsky did a great thing with the new generation.
Mhm.
You got these young kids singing our songs today, with the old groups backing them up. So I think that put a new spark into the genre and hopefully the future of our music.
And Ralph, what would your message be to your avid fans?
Well, obviously, I would say ditto to everything that's already been said. And I would like to thank personally George Galfo for keeping the Mystics alive. It means a lot to us. And
That's
NJ, thank you, NJ, for keeping the music alive and helping to keep it alive. We surely appreciate that.
Well,
And the fans, what can I say? You know, the fans that's what it's all about.
right. George, do you have a copy of the Hushabye nearby?
You mean the book of our background?
That's okay. I have one. I'll show it.
I have it right here.
Good. Here's mine too. See, so for Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up, or any special occasion, if you haven't read Hushabye, a true story written by the Mystics, the Hushabye, the music, the Mystics and the Mob, authored by Al Contrara, one of the original founding members of the Mystics, visit your favorite bookstore, or you can order online on Amazon.
It tells it all. It tells the whole story and our background, our biography, how we grew up and what took place. And if you're really interested in the history of the Mystics, go on and buy the book.
Well, I want to thank George Galfo. I want to thank Anthony DeFontes, Jerry Frulio, Tony Laura, and Ralph Rati for a stellar interview. And hopefully we can do it again in the very near future. I also want to take the time to thank Marla Doria, my very best friend, and she's been working today as my computer tech. And also we want to give her a round of applause because she and I worked together to produce the very popular The Mystics promo video interview, which has earned over 1,000 views and 61 shares.
Wow.
That's really quite an accomplishment.
Thank you, NJ. We appreciate all you do for the Mystics. It's a blessing. And just keep up the good work, and we appreciate it. We really do.
Thank you.
And we're
Thank
working,
you.
Thank you.
thank you. And we're working really hard to get you on television, on the TV shows, or to perform, to be interviewed. It's quite a challenge, but I am on top of it, and it's going to pay off one of these days. I also want to shout out to Joni Sperling for all the excellent work she does for the Mystics, keeping them on their toes. And Joni is the executive assistant for the Mystics, and she's doing a terrific job. And I really appreciate working with her. So until next time, I want to say thank you so much. And I want to see videos and photos from your international trip to Italy in May. And that should be so exciting. And so until next time, create heaven in your heart and starlight in your soul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a blessing.
Thank you, MJ.
It's
Thank
an
you.
honor to be here.
Thank you.